One, one, one. Come on, be brave, prove to the world. That's why you are the one. Create, make it, brand it to be the best. There's something special that you. Now is the time for all of you. Show to the world, BrandLaureate is you. Pick up the ladder and climb and make your dreams come true. Oh, thank you, God, for making it true. Can you feel it? Can you see it? You are the brand. Winning means you're not afraid of anyone. One, one, one. Come on, be brave, prove to the world. That's why you are the one. Create it, make it, brand it to be the best, 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 best. Can you feel it? Can you see it? You are the brand. Winning means you're not afraid of anyone. One, one, one. Come on, be brave, prove to the world. That's why you are the one. Create it, make it, brand it to be the best. Be strong.
Hello, I'm DrKKJohan and welcome to Brand Talks, Dr. KK's Brand Talks. How are you? It's good to be back for another round of brand insights. And for this session, we are going to focus on brands that evolve to become trillion-dollar brands. Yes, trillion-dollar brands. And I know your mind is trying to figure out how much trillion-dollar is, or how do you arrive at it, and who is a trillionaire? Trillions, trillions, trillions. What constitutes a trillions? If you are not aware, look at this chart. A trillion has 12 zeros. It's actually 1,000 billion, or a million multiplied by a million. It's mind-boggling. If you have $1 trillion, what would you do? In the first place, would you know what is the actual value of the 12 zeros and how much it can buy? For a start, $1 million can buy you a very nice house. With 1 trillion, you could buy a house for 1 million people. And if the cost of the house is less, you can buy many more houses and give it to those who cannot afford to own one. Wouldn't that be nice? So which are the brands that are worth $1 trillion in 2020? You have Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft. They are all tech companies and done extremely well, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. What about $2 trillion brands? The $2 trillion club brands are Apple. Everyone knows Apple. Aramco, Saudi Arabia oil and gas company. Yes, $2 trillion. And they are all really super powerful, gigantic, phenomenal, mind-boggling brands that deserve all these adjectives and description. Can your brand become $1 trillion brand? How long would that take? Would it take a century or a few decades? What would it take to build your brand to become a $1 trillion brand, and more so, $2 trillion? I want to share with you the amazing story of Apple, the largest, strongest, and greatest technology brand in the world. Did you notice something different about me today? What is it? Look at my dressing. Never in my life have I dressed up like that for all my speeches. Today, I purposely dress like the late Steve Jobs for remembrance and to pay tribute to my icon, the greatest innovator of all times, who was also the BrandLaureate Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievements Award recipients in 2011 before his passing. So sad, he died before his time, yet he was ahead of his time. And today, we celebrate his legacy in my Brand Talks session. Let us start. Apple hit the $1 trillion mark in the market capitalization in August 2018, 42 years after it was first founded, and 2 years later, in August 2020, became the first tech company to reach $2 trillion. The results are just exponential when you think that a trillion is a million multiplied by a million. Apple's achievements are phenomenal, and more so, they are trillion-link roads to success. I have decided to put the Apple brand story into 4 chapters for you today. Okay, let's begin with the first chapter, the birth of Apple and Steve Jobs' leadership. We all know that in 1976, Steve Jobs and his 2 friends, Ronald Wayne and Steve Wozniak, set up Apple, and the business was conducted from the garage of Steve Jobs' house. The first product they attempted at was a personal computing device. Computers at that time were huge mainframes that took up a lot of space. Hence, there was a market for smaller and affordable unit. From the garage, Apple's first PC called Apple II was born, and Steve took the brand out of the garage to make it known, seen, heard, and remembered. First year sales were 2.7 million. In third year, sales grew up to an astronomical $200 million, which was a first in corporate earnings in the United States. The Macintosh was unveiled in 1984, along with the introduction of the mouse. Sales were not impressive during the early days, as its features did not match up to other brands. Apple's main competitor then was IBM. Management issues over the performance of Mac led to Steve Jobs leaving Apple in 1985. Even though the Mac was not doing well, Apple's influence in the industry was growing. Many were impressed by Steve's leadership and enterprising spirit in building up a new startup to record growth of $200 million within 3 years. When Steve left Apple, he set up another computer company, Mac, and at this time, he moved into the movie industry by picking up Pixar, a film company from George Lucas. Pixar released Toy Story and became a box office hit. Subsequently, numerous movies were released, and Steve once again hit the limelight with his success and leadership in the entertainment industry. 12 years later, Apple acquired Mac. With that, Steve came back to Apple as its CEO, and his first task was to revive Apple, as it was losing market share to Microsoft then. In the millennium, Apple focused more on personal tech product, which highlighted Apple's innovation and positioned the brand as a game changer in the industry. The I range of products started in 1998 with the launch of iMac, which give a boost to the existing Mac, followed by the iBook and the rest of the iProducts. Into the realm of music, the iPod, which laid the path for the iPhone's success, was launched in 2001 and was the cash cow for Apple during the early 2000s. Prior to launching the iPod, Apple moved into the music segment and developed iTunes, which was a music library where you select your favorite songs and download it. The iPod allows users to download their favorite songs from iTunes and listen to it anywhere and everywhere. This synergy boosts Apple's leadership in innovation. The iPod became the portable media player of the century. Hip and trendy, it was a hit with the young and old, and it put music devices such as the Walkman, tape recorders, radio, outdated and unfashionable. Let's look at some quick takes on the iPod success. In 2002, the iPod accounted for 2% of Apple's revenue. It then grew exponentially over the next 5 years to account for 40% of Apple's revenue by 2006. Its highest unit sales was in 2008 with 54.8 million sold. By 2014, when Apple decided to pull the plug on the iPod, Apple had sold 400 million of it. With Apple's Mac, iTunes and iPod, Apple was gaining global attention and building its community of loyal fans. The community embraced and still is embracing Apple's product like duck to the water, meaning they took to every new product launch with no hesitation. Apple's innovative and trend-setting product always create the buzz and is able to gather attention and curiosity of its community. Brand must have its own community of faithful customers that reach out and respond positively to the brand. Take note, the brand communities builds the brand sustainability. Apple continued to enhance iPod's features until 2014, when it decided to focus on the iPhone, which was by then creating wave in the market and generating huge revenue for the business. Into the second chapter, the iPhone. 5 years after iPod was introduced, the whole world then waited in anticipation for the iPhone, one that could change the whole landscape of communication and connectivity. Steve was first and foremost a product innovator, and together with his chief product designer, Johnny, created the iPhone that stands out tall and way ahead of the competitors. The iPhone is a global phenomenon for Apple and the industry. 13 years down the line, it is still a market leader and very much sought after. Even with competition from other brands, the appeal factors is still very high because of the latest technology and innovation that prevails in every new phone and the consistently simple and yet stylish design. The iPhone is not only a tool for communication, it is a status symbol and lifestyle. You may ask what makes the iPhone so popular and successful. After the analog mobile phone, the smartphone was the next wave of transformation in mobile communication, and the iPhone rode on it. You could say Apple was in the blue ocean then. The only competitor then was Nokia, and its smartphone was not well received by consumer, while Samsung's smartphone came on later. Here are 5 factors that make the iPhone a success. Number 1, the technology. The iPod's technology laid the foundation for iPhone's success. Apple did not have to create new technology for the iPhone, but innovated on iPod's technology and incorporated it in the iPhone. With its hardcore fans that are sold on Apple's innovation, it was easy for them to embrace the iPhone with least resistance. This can only happen if your brand can build trust and loyalty among your consumers. Second, the functionality. New features introduced to the iPhone were easy to use, and the inclusion of camera skyrocketed the sales. There were functionality and relevance in the iPhone, which is cornerstone of every brand's success. Number 3, the perception. Again, the perception factor for the brand was riding high, and anything that Apple launched would attract attention and translated into sales. Number 4, the quality. The high standard of technology. Since the first iPhone was launched, there has been no product recall, unlike what happens to Samsung Note 7 that had problem with its battery. And number 5, the strategy. Adopting a strategy of launching a new model every year with new features and design excites customers and keep the brand alive and always in the minds of consumers. Apple's existing customers could upgrade their own model, and new customers could always pick up the latest phone when they decided to switch brand. Apple owns the space in the minds of consumers, which not every brand can claim to be able to do so. Brand loyalty among Apple's users is very high. Many would not switch to another brand as they are accustomed to the usage of the iPhone and its functionality. Since the launch of iPhone, growth has been astronomical or phenomenal for Apple, if you may say so. Let's take a look at these figures and it will blow your mind away. These are units sold in millions. Sales in 2007 was 1.39 million units, and in 2018 it reached 217 million units and still growing. Year to date, 1.5 billion iPhones have been sold, and the iPhone constitutes half of Apple's revenue. The year Steve passed away in October 2011, the iPhone sold was only 72.29 million units and jumped to over 70% of 125 million units the following years after his death. With sales figures like this, the iPhone is definitely a runaway success for Apple and the envy of many brands. Wouldn't it be great if your brand can achieve such great success? Everyone associates the iPhone and Apple's success to Steve Jobs. Many wondered, even after his death, would Apple continue to do well, as Steve was not only the driving force of Apple, but also the face of the brand. Watch out for the second part of this session to find out about his succession plan to continue on his legacy for brand continuity. To be continued. Don't forget to join us for the next session.
next eBranding Awards will be in October 2020. Submissions are now open, so kindly visit us at www.brandlaureate.com for more information.
This is a song, it's meant for you. For so